We're going to do a core rundown. I'm going to go briefly over the modules that are pretty much in the hack sheet set I used. So first thing you're going to do, you'd want to have them copied into your hack sheet directory into the user mods folder. That's the best way to get them to show up here when you open up modules and go to install extra modules or uninstall extra modules. I'm going to go to install extra modules and I'll see the ones that I currently have in my folder. So I updated pretty much every single core, like all of them, because I got ones that were running that have never been run before on the mini NES. So I did everything I could just to better the situation for what we could run on this thing. So I have 4DO here, and I'm gonna post this one like in a revision within the next couple of days. But there's already one in my current set which I'll link to, and you can see that in the description of this video. But 4DO runs 3DO, and if you go to the right where the readmes are, it pretty much shows the command lines you could use as well as what systems they run. Here it also says you need the following BIOS image, and I included the BIOS images for all of these within my master BIOS module, which is right down here. So that pretty much covers every system that these cores go through. So 4DO does 3DO. Caprice does the CPC Amstrad computer. DOSBox does, DOS computer games. Emux Chip 8, that's something that does not run with controls. It's pretty much more like an attract mode, so it's hardly worth even trying at this point. Final Burn Alpha is a good alternative to Mame. This is the standard version. Then I have the 2012 version, as well as variants that are smaller, much smaller versions of CPS 1, 2, and 3, and Neo Geo. Then we have FMXX, which runs MXX 1 and 2 games. And there's a point when I updated this that it broke the core, so I had to pretty much leave it at a certain point or it would not work right. Fuse runs ZX Spectrum. Gambata runs Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Genesis Plus X runs a variety of stuff. It runs everything from Mega Drive, Sega Genesis, to Sega Master System, to Game Gear, to SG-1000 games. Galupin 64 runs Nintendo 64. GME runs basically music. So you could add like sound files and command line them to GME, and these cannot be compressed. They have to be extracted. Game & Watch, and you saw my previous video on those. Them are awesome. And Handy runs Atari Lynx, and I have the BIOS for that in my master BIOS module as well. Image Viewer is how you could run like manuals and strategy guides, etc. You could add pings or JPEGs, but there's a limit to what you could add, and it's a little bit of trial and error, and pages that are double widespread will not function in this. Lutro is a core that runs games that are basically fan-made, and they're pretty basic, but some of them are pretty interesting. I'm going to do a video on those soon too. Then we have Mame 2000, and that is mainly used for the midway Bally games. I wouldn't really use it for any other reason. Games like even Star Wars do not function well on it, nor Battlezone. 2003 is the best arcade core. I love it. It works great with everything, for the most part. And this updated version runs a lot of System 32 games. 2010 is what you'd want to use to play games such as Star Wars, which actually controls properly with 2010. You can run games like Thunderblade. Mame 2014, I'm still working on. It's barely functional, and it's really not worth messing with. Neo Geo Pocket for NGP. PCE Fast, I updated it so it runs with a CRT filter. Super Graphics is an offshoot of the TurboGrafx 16. It's got a select few games that are arcade quality and really fun to play. We have the Virtual Boy, Wonder Swan. MGBA runs Game Boy Advance. Mupin 64 Plus runs Nintendo 64. And Next Dungeon runs Cave Story. O2EM runs the Odyssey 2 video pack games, and there's only a few games that actually run with this, so Killer Bees is a great one though, and I showed that in one of my videos. Then we have PSX PCSX rearmed. Then I updated it to a PCSX rearmed Neon version, and these both run great. A majority of games run fine. The BIOS are in my master BIOS. Pico drive, I mainly use this for 32X and Sega CD games. Them are my main two that run on this. I mean, you could run Genesis games on here if you'd like to, but I still like using Genesis Plus for those. Pokemon Mini runs the Pokemon mini games. PR Boom runs the Doom games, and you have to copy this PR Boom WAD file into the directory of any Doom game that you install, be it Doom 1 or 2. Otherwise, the game will not function. And I did a video on this, and I left the PR Boom WAD file by itself in the directory of the user mods that I posted in the link. Pro System runs Atari 7800, and the BIOS are in the Master BIOS module. Then we have the RetroArch version, and I'm going to add another update for this within the next few days too, and it's going to have an updated Nystopia core. Now, if you're using a CRT filter, you got to remember you'd want to install RetroArch and then the CRT filter, and then if you want to update RetroArch, you have to uninstall the CRT filter, then uninstall RetroArch, then reinstall the new version of RetroArch, then reinstall the CRT filter. We have RetroArch right here. The CRT hack is the filter that you'd want to install. And once these are installed in proper succession, you could literally just go to the main menu, go up to the top, and enable CRT filter, and it runs for a good 8 to 9 out of 10 cores. And Super Graphics, PCE Fast, and Pico Drive were all fixed in my latest revisions to run great with this core. Then we have the cheats for many systems here. I updated these accordingly, and I added PlayStation and Saturn ones. And the main thing to remember here, and I put on here, be patient, expect 2 to 5 minute install uninstall times. If you get impatient and try pushing the buttons on your system early, it's not going to install or uninstall properly. You just want to go to install it and walk away for about 5 minutes and come back and you'll be fine. And these work fantastic for NES. I tested these on PlayStation 1. I mean, these all run pretty great, and you can do them on the fly without even restarting the games in most cases. Then we have SNES 2005 and 2010 versions. And 2010 is more accurate, so you have a couple issues with certain games that would be FX driven. 2005 is less accurate, so games like FX games run a little better. But if you enable the overclock FX mode on 2010, it runs pretty good. You could disable VSync that run better too. Now we have Stella, which runs Atari 2600. We have TGB Dual, which is a Game Boy, and you could run, it's basically having two Game Boy systems linked together with a cable and running games like Tetris. You could do 2 players with that core. Then we have TYR Quake, which runs the Quake game, and you just have to add the pack files for the game and you're good to go. And I did an alternative VBA Next and VBAM. These run Game Boy Advance. VecX runs Vectrex games. This one I just added, it's Vice 64, and it runs Commodore 64 games. This is a fairly tricky core to run with and set up, but I'm going to do a video on this soon. And we have Virtual Jaguar, which runs Atari Jaguar. I did a video on this. We have Yaboose, which runs Sega Saturn, and it's pretty much close to 3DO. It's more of a novelty, doesn't run the games too well. There's a few tweaks you can do that run them a little bit better. I'm going to show you in a future video. Clover Show Hack, I did a video on this too. This is a great way of importing and exporting files from your Mini to your computer and vice versa. We have the Music Hack, which you could install by itself, and that'll allow you to have no music, or you could replace the file in there with a WAV file, and you'll have the music of that wave as your main NES music. And again, this needs properly installed and uninstalled for it to take effect. We have the Password, where you want to be careful with this one. Once you install it, you have to type in the Konami up, down, left, right, BA start code, and this actually affects you being able to flash the system too, so just remember that. And lastly, we have remove thumbnails, and that's pretty self-explanatory. But using the Pingu, which I showed in my other video, you can reduce the size of the thumbnails, so it's really not a nuisance, and it's aesthetically pleasing. So anyways, that was a basic rundown of this. Just remember, if you're confused about what runs what, go to the readmes on the right, and you can see right there the command lines for these and what you should add, what the system runs, and this is a nice set of chords, over 60 strong, and I'm going to update this more and more as we go on. I'm hoping to get Nintendo DS and PSP and maybe even Dreamcast running. I mean, it'd be great to run like Ikaruga for Dreamcast on here. I'd love that. But I'm going to also try to get 2014 Mame running and hopefully 2016 Mame, just for the select few games those may run as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and that's a brief rundown of the chords that I have in my set, and I'm going to continually update them for you guys.